Welcome to Washington Football Week with your host, one half of that dynamic duo, Sean Spencer, and South Carolina's finest, Will Kramer.
Don't play us if you're undefeated.
Where we celebrate past success while looking to a bright future. There's a youth movement in Washington, and they're ready to take the reins, led by firefighters.
Play aggressive.
It's a new day, new dawn, no longer the laughing stock. It's time to take them.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday, not Wednesday. Happy Thirsty Thursday for you. Hope all is well. And you know when I'm talking Washington, I got to be with my guy, South Carolina's finest, Will Kramer. What up, Will?
Sean, thank you so much for pushing this to Thursday. I was not available yesterday. I was too busy watching the Boca Raton Bowl, where Madison, James Madison, we are the Dukes of JMU. Now, I will say this. School got its very first bowl win ever. So big deal. Big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And they played a very formidable opponent in Western Kentucky.
Mhm.
They didn't hang 70 on them, which they've done to other schools this year.
Okay.
But they did hang
move on?
27 on them. 27 with the backup quarterbacks.
Oh, my goodness.
Bob Chesney, baby.
Let's go. Shout out to the Dukes. We both have spent significant time at James Madison University.
Harrisonburg has been fun to us, yes.
Absolutely. Definitely excited about it. But I think the clip that kept going around social media today was whoever the linebacker was, goes over there, makes a tackle, and he's just starting to just unload it.
Did he get a penalty on that play?
I think he did. Well, because he kept doing it. It wasn't the first. He did it the first time. Then there was a little bit of friction. They were fighting. And then he walked around, came around behind them, and then did it again. And I think then they clashed again. I was like, hey, if you're winning, you're doing that. I'm sure you guys are still scoring points on North Carolina. So it is
right?
What it is.
There's another touchdown against the Tar Heels. Well, you know, what's funny is, so PFT commenter, who is someone who we went to high school with. I won't be the one to reveal his identity, even though it has been revealed. He is a Duke grad.
Oh, yeah.
And he's very big into satire. And he was like, hey, you can't penalize something if it's not an air gun. There's nothing in the rules to say anything about bow and arrow.
Very true. Very true. Hey, look, shout out to him. When you win, you get it good. And you know what? It's funny because I've mentioned, and just off track real quick, I've mentioned that in the college show, how, you know, that the air gun and the kicking down the door and all that stuff. Like, I hate that.
Yes.
But I know maybe this is hypocritical, but I kind of didn't feel the same way about the bow and arrow. I mean, you know, that's clever. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong for that. I don't know. But I thought it was kind of clever. So, you know.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I went out and watched the game. We were supposed to do a JMU watch party here in Columbia, and we were on our way, and traffic was terrible. There was a big accident, and I just knew by the time we got there, knowing I had to bring Patrick back after halftime, we weren't going to be there but an hour, so we took a detour. We went to a place, and just him and I watched the game, but he was thrilled. He had his little Duke dog, Stuffy, with him, out to dinner with him, and so we had a fun little evening.
I like that. I saw the picture. Definitely nice
Yeah.
seeing. Shout out to Johnny Dean saying, seriously, you guys are doing this during the game. Shaking my head in his fantasy football playoffs. Listen, we got to do it whenever we do it. All right, Johnny, but we appreciate you hopping on for a little bit. It's an AFC. It's the Chargers and the Broncos.
Who's watching that?
Right, Tina. Tina Winter.
Tina is. Yes, she is. Very much so.
Shout out to her. Yo, we appreciate you guys joining us on Washington Football Weekly. Like I said, that's my guy, Will Kramer. I am Sean Spencer. We're going to get into this. We're right in front. 3 games left until the playoffs. We're knocking on the door. Fortunately, we got some injuries and stuff. We did get our 9th win over the Saints, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. But before we do, we got to shout out somebody. We got to shout out our buddy, somebody that's held it down, has been with us over the last 4 years doing these shows. And he's a diehard Ravens fan, even moonlights as Washington fan. Shout out to him, respect. Our guy, Nathan Snell, just graduated. And we're going to show you that graduation. Not everybody was able to be there, so we're going to show you what I was able to see. There you go.
Big down. Big Nate.
Nathan Snell.
Woo!
Yeah, buddy, that's our guy, Nathan Snell. Shout out to him getting his graduating, getting his bachelor's degree from, I believe it's UMBC, and I do believe Maryland, Baltimore College.
University of Maryland Global Campus.
That's what
it's the University of Maryland. It allows for folks to do a little bit of online learning for those who could. We know he was working during this, helping to take care of his dad. So yeah, it's exactly when I saw that video and you brought it up on Saturday, I was like, this is exactly the type of success that the University of Maryland wants to see as to why they created this program, to let somebody take a little bit longer to get their degree because they're dealing with life, but getting what they needed to. So yeah, I was so proud of you for going to that game, going to the graduation. Give him that support, which everybody needs, and to Nate to persevering through it and grinding through it. Big shout out to him.
Oh, it was absolutely, it was phenomenal. And, his family was there, everybody that came. I got to meet his sister, his uncles, his mom, and actually his 3rd grade teacher was there. I thought that was so cool. Her and I struck up a conversation about teaching elementary school and this and that. And I really thought that was great, but it was a great time being able to be there, see Nate. He already has aspirations of doing his master's through there, and keeping going with his educational career. And I'm all for it, man. And to your point, what he's been doing, not just with that, but then also taking care of his dad, helping out with his family, working full time, and doing these shows as consistently as he possibly can. Shout out to what he's been able to do. He needs to get this recognition, and we're going to do everything in our power to lift him up, put him on a pedestal, because, ladies and gentlemen, not too long ago, I think it was just a week ago, he actually he had a personal interview with Brenda Freeze, the head coach of the Lady Terrapins, who are dominating in college basketball right now. And he was able to sit down with her, and it was an amazing interview. Okay. Weren't they like undefeated at one point?
Dominating. Play somebody.
Oh, there you go. Okay, there we go. I thought you were a Maryland fan. Here we go. Yo, shout out to our guy. Definitely. And actually, really quickly, the funny part about that is I'm there and we're talking back and forth, and they kept, I guess his uncle's wife, was there and talking to us, and they're saying, oh, well, we got to get back at this amount of time. They're at our house. They're doing some work. And they just kept talking about all the work and stuff that they're doing. And they kept mentioning the name. And I heard it first and I was like, but I didn't think anything of it. And they kept saying the name Anton. And I was like, what's going on? So eventually I just sat there and said, Anton's at your house? He's like, oh yeah, he's helping put in the walk-in closet, X, Y, and Z. Anton Benton actually was there that weekend. I FaceTimed Anton and I was like, yo, are you at Nate's house? He's like, yeah, I wasn't gonna go to the graduation. I was like, I'm at the graduation. So he got to see Nate and got to say what's up. So shout out to him. Hey, we're trying to bring people together. I know I didn't want to take too much time out to say that, but I definitely wanted to bring that up because I think that's key in what we're doing right here.
Yeah, well, and I saw Anton posted today some of the progress. It's looking really good.
Oh yes,
it got me going. Huh?
Right.
Our primary closet is not good.
I'm telling you, the man will travel. The man will travel. So shout out to him, man. Nathan Snell, Anton Benson, all the guys we got going, and definitely check them out coming on. Look, we're going to get into this, but real quick, we do got some other news. Will, new Twitter handle? What's up?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're getting a chance to catch this, after the fact, or if you're watching live, please make sure you are following us at Wash FB Weekly. We post our shows. We post not only the full show, we post some of the clips. But if you're following us on Twitter, you'll be able to check and see when we're going to post stuff from Apple Pods and Spotify, because Sean and I are doing a little bit extra. Obviously we love doing the weekly shows, but we got a couple extra segments that are just on Apple or Spotify. If you're following us on there, Washington Football Weekly. I like looking at the injury reports. So that's kind of my thing, is to kind of see who's practicing, who's not. Sean did a vent session earlier this week. He's a little frustrated over the victory. He was not having a glowing Victory Monday. So please, by all means, follow us on Twitter, Wash FB Weekly, and like and subscribe on Apple and Spotify so that you can see some of the additional content that we've been creating.
Absolutely. Hey, look, don't sugarcoat it, Will. I was pissed off.
I know you never say that word.
Right, exactly. And Mom, I'm sorry, but that's how I was fuming. All right. But yeah, definitely do that. And that's something where it's exclusive content that you're not going to get on YouTube. You're not going to get in front of the camera. It's just some of our thoughts on some of the things we got out there. So I'm excited about that, and excited to see the kind of attention, kind of, back and forth we get from some of the people. Definitely comment and definitely reach out. But we got to get into it. Washington got the victory. We are 9-5, ladies and gentlemen. And it does feel good at the end of the day to be 9-5 and to have won another game going down the stretch. But Will, I do have some concerns. I have some grave concerns. We've talked about if you heard the vent, which is exclusive to Spotify, what we got going on. If you heard me, some of the things that I was frustrated about was the penalties and the lack of discipline, was the injury issue that seems to be coming up, and are we addressing it? And even how the fact that some of the guys from the past seem to be wreaking havoc on the future. But I mean, maybe not wreaking havoc. Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch. But Will, talk to me about this game, because we should have blew these guys out, and we won by 1 point. What do you think?
Yeah, a little frustrating, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And especially when the first half, I was kind of starting to recline in my chair a little bit during this game, because it wasn't really that much of a contest. Jake Haener was atrocious. And even in the second half, I was like, all right, it's they scored. The defensive for the Saints was playing pretty good, but it got really close.
Yeah.
To the point where we very well could have lost that game, and we collapsed in the second half. And I feel good that we won. I'm thrilled that we've created our first winning season since 2016, guaranteed a winning season with our ninth win. But you don't walk around with your chest pumped out on Monday, winning the way we did.
No, we tied them with both having 11 passing first downs. But I think one of the biggest things that really frustrated me is the fact that while we were able to pass a little bit, we gave up the most sacks in a game we've had this year, with 8 sacks against the Saints. And that's where I was talking about the pass coming back to wreak havoc, with Chase Young getting his 2 sacks. And I know you saw that one time where he kind of just stand there and looks over to the sidelines, and I'm just sitting here like, this guy, where was that in Washington? But I'll pump my
besides your rookie year, where was that?
Come on, buddy. But it speaks to a bigger issue, and we're going to get into some of the injury issues. But before we do, I got to talk about how that second half fell apart. Now I know my guy Will is trying to be reserved. We know who stepped in for Jake Haener. Okay, the South Carolina's real finest, Mr. Spencer Rattler. He did his thing. But to your point, Will, to say it was a collapse was maybe an understatement, because the amount of penalties we had, I believe 9 penalties for 84 yards. And a lot of these penalties were just at the end of third downs. We've made the stop, and then all of a sudden, some crappy thing. They went against St. Juice that gave them the first down after we had just gotten off the field. The roughing the passers, which by the letter of the law, I get, but
Right.
the hand came to the side of his head. You can't do this. And it even tells you Fowler looked at the ref that was in front of him like, am I good? Am I good?
Yeah.
And it was the guy behind him that throws the flag. Come on now. So, but it's still, you don't want to put yourselves in those situations to where the refs have the ability to change the game. But I can't take much away from your boy from South Carolina. Spencer Rattler did what he needed to do, and he looked night and day better than Jake Haener in the first half.
Yeah, no, you're right. You said it so well right there when you're like, we shouldn't have put ourselves in the position that you're giving the refs a chance to affect the outcome of the game. And those penalties were extremely frustrating. You said both of them on Fowler were kind of, you could make the argument like, really, we're calling this? But you're right. The second one, it really was like, what are we doing? Putting bubble wrap on these quarterbacks?
Right.
And St. Juice, I'm so done with that guy. You get 3 snaps and one of them's a hold when you get a sack on the play to get off the field. But I love seeing what Spencer did. He played well. He also was in a situation where they had nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And so all he had to do was drop back and sling it. And he can do that. Yeah. But what the difference between the two of them was he was much quicker in where he was going with the ball. Now, one thing, you know what I noticed? I bet you saw this too. He never once looked to his left where Marshawn Lattimore was. He looked right every single time.
Yeah.
Their whole offense, maybe in the middle, but he was not gonna test Lattimore, which is awesome. I don't think Jalen Hurts would be the same way, but that was really nice. But Rattler was quick in his processing and getting rid of the ball. He was, there was other times the receivers were open and Haener just wasn't hitting them, and he was able to hit the open receivers, which was impressive. But I also want to remember it was 17-0. It was 17-7, 17-3. There was an opportunity for him to grip it and rip it, and that's exactly what he was doing out there.
Yeah, and let's talk about kind of that. With 8 minutes to go in the third quarter, we're up 17-0. And we have, I believe, an opportunity. When did we get that field goal? After they scored a touchdown, then we made it 20-7, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we had an opportunity to potentially put the game away. But we talk about penalties, we talk about drop passes, certain things like that. One thing we haven't talked about yet is the injury problem. Obviously, coming into this game, we knew we didn't have Noah Brown, so the conversation was who's going to be our number 2. Well, then we also lost Ertz. Obviously, we know Eckler's gone as well, and even the line. But just with these specialty guys, just with our playmakers, I mean, how much did that play a factor in the second half? And then also, I mean, who knows how long we're going to be without some of these guys. So how will that play a factor in these next 3 games coming up?
Yeah, I think losing Ertz is a really big deal. I mean, he is our second leading receiver out there. He is Jaden's safety blanket, as well as the connection that Jaden has developed with Terry. He goes to Ertz when things start to break down because he knows that Ertz knows where to go. Right. He's got the mentality to find the hole in the zones or to be ready to be his bailout. That was gone, and now you put the onus on Bates and Ben Sinnott. Those are not two primary pass catchers. Mm-hmm. And then with Noah Brown out, you put it on Diami, Olamide Zaccheaus, Jamison Crowder, who just came off IR. These are not guys that you're going to be scared about. Kind of like when we talked last week with Nicole, and we're like, I hate to say this, but none of your receivers scare us right now. That's the same situation that we're at. You take away Terry, and who else on Washington's roster, now that Zach Ertz is hurt and probably not playing this week, knows how to get open consistently and hurt you. It's something to be really worried about.
Oh yeah, and to your point, I mean, Terry had his 7 receptions for 73 yards, but then the next most receptions is 3, and that was by Olamide Zaccheaus. It was by Diami Brown and Jamison Crowder. I will say that we talk about number 2, and I don't know in a normal situation Jamison would be that guy, but as far as consistency and now having him back in the year and the team and experience, that might be a place we look at. I mean, Olamide Zaccheaus, we know about his drop and fumbling issues, but clearly he looked decent in this game. And then Diami did no different than what Diami does. So I think that's something we need to look at going down the stretch, because we're not going to get it for the rest of the way. the rest of the games during the regular season and potentially playoffs, we're not going to get a team the caliber of the Saints. Now the Saints are playing for Rizzy and they're playing for their coach, and they're not dead by the normal football metrics. I mean, their playoff season is done, but as far as they're still playing for this interim coach, we're not going to get a team that's not that has those type of injury issues and just that type of lack of talent, for lack of a better word. So we're going to have to figure it out. And on top of that, like I alluded to earlier, we had the most sacks that we've had all year. I mean, daggone JD5 was looking around, and you thought, if you looked twice, you thought it dang was Sam Howell as much as he was on the ground.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Sam, I still love him. But I think that also is something we got to be concerned with. I mean, Biadasz not being there. I mean, Allegretti was having some holding issues. Can we have success if we don't have at least the O-line that we have had starting the season?
No, not at all. Yeah, you said it. I was thinking it as you were talking about. This reminded me of last year with Sam Howell, where if you want to talk about the 8 sacks, okay, well, who was it? Is it on the quarterback? Is it on the offensive line? Is it on the play calling? What's the percentage? And all 3 of them were at fault this week. You saw Brandon Coleman, who's had a really good rookie season and has been a gem of a 3rd-round pick at left tackle. He got owned by Chase Young. It wasn't just the 2 sacks. Chase Young was putting pressure. He became that guy that people were like, oh, we got to keep your eyes on him. Right. Okay. Andrew Wiley had trouble with Granderson on the other side. We talked last week about how the Saints defensive line is their strength. If you can take that away, you can pick them apart. We didn't take it away. Mm-hmm. Timely penalties. You mentioned it. Allegretti, your guy, De'Ami Brown, made a great catch on a play that was putting the ball down at the 10-yard line, keeping a drive going, moving forward. Mm-hmm. Allegretti with the hold. We dropped back. We moved back out of field goal range. We had some really timely penalties on offense that were hurting us. Yeah. By all means, we were hurt with Michael Dieter in there. With Tyler Biadasz out because of being sick. By all means, Biadasz is the guy who's calling the formations. He's calling the blitz pickups. Mm-hmm. He's making audibles out there, working with Jaden. Along with blocking. And I really think we saw a drop-off. No different a couple of years ago. Remember when Chase Roulier got hurt? And then whoever came in, it took a while. And it wasn't until we got Tyler Larson in there to kind of solidify it a little bit. You could see how important the play of the center was out there. And with Biadasz out, now it was just a sickness, probably like the flu. Mm-hmm. But they did report that essentially Sam Cosmi gutted through that game. Cosmi has not practiced this week. And he's been out because of a sickness. So clearly the flu is running through our offensive line right now, which is concerning. But no, to answer your long way of answering your question, no, the way they played on Sunday is not sustainable for us to have success.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, going against now the likes of this vaunted Eagles defense in this coming week and their D-line, then having the Saints who have a much improved D-line. And then look, Dallas, regardless, always plays us well. And that's before we potentially get into a playoff matchup with, if we're the 7th seed, most likely we might have to go back against Philly or one of those top seeds. So that's something that I'm definitely going to try to keep my eye on. And we're going to have to, because what do I always say in the offseason, man? Give me my 14, 15 linemen for this. But in truth, I would rather have just my solid 5. Have the backup so we can bring them in. But to your point, when you don't have that center, you really understand the importance of that center when he's gone. And if you need to, I think you can't get a better picture than when you look at Ohio State. Ohio State losing McLaughlin, who ended up being the best center in the country. When they lost that, they created a hole. So Michigan, having that good interior rush, was able to shut down that high-powered offense. And something similar to what you're saying with us, that center controls the line. He's the quarterback of the line, so he keeps everybody in line. When you take that piece out and you bring somebody in, and shout out to Dieter for doing what he did, but at the same time, he's not Biadasz. So that's going to be very interesting going down. But listen,
I got okay. You go. Go with your point.
no, I was going to move on. So
I want to stay on. But see,
Yeah.
one of the things I think is important of this is where we haven't criticized Cliff enough on this, and Jaden, because there were times when Jaden was holding on to the ball, trying to make some plays, or he tried to bail and run, and he ran right into one of Chase Young's sacks. He ran up, and it was only a 1-yard sack at the time, but instead of just throwing the ball away. But also, one of my criticisms towards the end of the game was on Cliff. Why are you running longer developing plays when your offensive line is struggling? And most importantly, all we needed was a field goal to put the game away in the entire fourth quarter. Why are you not running safer plays that can just get us a little bit further? Don't be running the stuff that you're waiting for these receivers to run crossers and get open so that we can play for the field goal to play for the win. Because, one thing we haven't mentioned is we had chances to put the game away.
Yes.
Terry and Jaden missed on 3 opportunities, and they were very close. But I really feel like on the second one on the sidelines, I feel like Terry was open for the most part, where Jaden didn't need to lead him on that.
Yes.
He could have thrown that right into his chest. It's either a first down or a touchdown.
Right.
But by trying to lead him, it was an incomplete pass.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that wasn't a good decision. It wasn't a good throw. So if we were already missing that combo was just barely off, I really feel like Cliff missed it here by saying, we just need to go for the win. I just need to get a little more conservative, get us to not ruin plays, because we kept having sacks that took us out of field goal range or made it much more, third and long. And we could have gotten out of that with better play calling.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it with Cliff is we have to, he's got to, let's start to study other teams, but study us. What are our tendencies? And what I've started to notice is on rundowns, a lot of teams are run blitzing us.
Yes.
They're forcing us to either they're jamming the run game, or they're forcing Jaden to try to run. And you see, they did what Cleveland did. They stretch it out, make him run east and west as opposed to north and south. And when he does that, he's realizing he's not faster than these NFL players. You got linebackers and D linemen that have the kind of wheels that where in college you could be able to run around the corner no problem. So yeah, that's something that we're going to have to look at, the tendencies and how to change that. But I think that goes into actually what I was talking about. And it was 17-0 at one point. And yes, we can talk about the just missed passes or the penalties or everything like that. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, like you said, there were points where we could have ended the game. Even when they started to come back, there were points in certain drives. You talk about those passes that were just missed. There were points, or the De'Ami Brown catch. I think that was key, where we get it. I was just ready to say, yes, all right, that would have been his 4th catch. That was a great play. And then all of a sudden you get the holding penalty and you bring it back. We've always talked about not being able – we have to get ahead of the chains. If we get behind the chains, we have not shown the ability to – we've done it from time to time, but we haven't shown the ability to consistently get back over that hump. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the end of the third quarter where the play clock stops and we kick the field goal, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, incomplete, or it missed field goal, and then Dan Quinn was like, hey, wait a second, look at the clock, and then you see Rizzy just cussing him out like, because it was a little gamemanship in there. But a lot of that was in the game. I mean, obviously, towards the very end, there was a little clock malfunction, but again, we shouldn't have been in that situation. So let's talk about that down the stretch. What is it that you saw down the stretch that really could be a problem for us in these next couple of weeks, or if we even get to the playoffs?
Are we talking about the 54-yard field goal?
Was that warrant? Should we have done that, knowing that we don't have a trustable kicker?
Well, I mean, so that's a great question. But more, you asked me, what is something that happened in the fourth quarter that is concerning? It's our coaching decisions. That's what's concerning. Right now, I think you saw in the Saints game that Dan Quinn relied too much on faith on the players and not reading the game. Because going into should we have kicked a 54-yard field goal with a kicker who had already missed one, even though he got taken off the board? He missed a 40-some-yarder earlier. Is that the play for Greg Joseph to play? Or do you punt the ball and tell the Saints and a rookie quarterback, if you go 80 yards, 90 yards on me, that's fine. I'll take that. That. But I'm not going to let you go 55. I'm not going to give you a short field. But Dan Quinn was, as he's been all season, so he's consistent, but he wasn't really reading the team and how New Orleans had all this momentum.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't really moving the ball, and he decided to kick, go for the field goal, which would have obviously won the game, put the game out of reach, but it missed. It wasn't close.
Mm-hmm.
And we gave New Orleans not only that, we gave them an emotional lift and a half a field.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a concern that our coach was so much into, I'm going to trust my guys, and not realizing, kind of taking that step back and say, the game is not going in our way.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be conservative right now.
Oh, yeah. And one of my issues, and we talked about this before, is that now we got Lattimore in there. And the Saints obviously know him, so they didn't touch his side. They didn't go anywhere near his side. But what that did do was created an issue on the other side where we did have St. Just in there. We did have Forrest got in there for the plays. I think he was the one who gave up the touchdown at the end. But we did have some of these guys that got in, and because they're not even looking one way, now all the attention, all the balls are going in this other direction, and we got exposed. We got exposed to a team that doesn't even have their full complement of wide receivers. And that's something that's going to be interesting. And to your point about Lattimore, I think that there's a little bit of familiarity with the Saints, and okay, we're not going, and we don't, like I said, we don't have a full complement of wide receivers. But at the same time, it's also Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler. These are also rookies that are coming in here, and they're playing against an all-pro corner. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to be safe, obviously. We're not going to get that for the rest of the season. You know what I mean? Obviously, we're going to have Jalen Hurts this coming week, and then Michael Penix Jr., yes, but I'll take him over Spencer and those guys. So we'll see what he does. And then towards the end of the year, if it's Rush has played us. He knows how to play us, and they can still gash us. So that's something that is a concern of mine, because when Lattimore gets tested, how is that going to look? And if teams decide to go away from Lattimore and they start to pick on the other side, can the other side hold up? If the pressure's not getting to the quarterback, can the other side of the secondary hold up and sustain? Because that's going to be the issue down the stretch, something we've always talked about this whole year.
Absolutely. And that also brings up a great reason why you should go check out our extra stuff on Washington Football Weekly, because on Monday I did some of my 5 thoughts. And one of the things I noticed between the potential game scoring touchdown and the 2-point conversion was the defense changed. They ran a very similar play. The Saints did a quick little out route. One of them, they almost tried to do a little rub route for the touchdown. We had Derek Forrest covering the tight end on that for the touchdown. Not quick enough, not fast enough. On the 2-point conversion, we had our slot corner, Noah Igbenogany. He knows the route. He's a little bit quicker. He had much better coverage. It made Rattler have to make a perfect throw, which he didn't, and we were able to win the game. So I kind of was noticing the coaches made some adjustments. So nice job, Sean. Way to segue into the reason why you want to follow us, because there's extra stuff out there. But by all means, it's really concerning how, we don't have, with some of these injuries, with Jeremy Chin being out, we're putting a Derek Forrest out there playing extensive plays. We're putting a Benjamin St. Just to rotate in a little bit. And some of these guys, Forrest hasn't played all season, and yet now he's getting more than 50% of the snaps. That's not a good thing.
No, it's not at all. It's not at all. And so that's something, look, like I said, we will not have a situation for the remainder of the season where we have this level of talent. You know what I mean? So this is something we're going to have to nip in the bud. But look, real quick, let's talk about that last 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Okay. Obviously they get down, they get right to the goal line, and before they clock it, there's the clock is dripping down, knock it down. Then it gets stuck on 9 seconds. And then it gets stuck there for, if you count, it's a 3 count, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, or maybe even a 4 count. So much so, had they let it run, yes, potentially the clock would have ran out. A lot of people I've seen brought that up. It's a very valid point. And I'll ask you, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, is there anything there, or is this just something that we're trying to get on the NFL for?
Dude needs to be suspended. What type of official on a play like that comes walking out, killing the clock like this, the way he did? He walked off the sideline waving to kill the clock. You're not reffing college here, buddy.
Right.
Like that can't happen. Yeah. I do understand when Sean Hockley said, hey, it's not reviewable, because like you said, it would have been really subjective at that point to go 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. Nope, they don't get the playoff. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't go back and like change the play. But the NFL has to be holding these guys accountable. If you want people to not think this league is fixed, then you need to be doing something about this. You need to make a statement to that official to say that is too egregious for you to be on the sidelines this Sunday. You're out. You can't be having brain farts in that time frame. But they're not going to do that, you know. So that why do you think these conspiracy theories go around? You know. So yeah, no, that somewhere. Right.
They were somewhere saying, let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance.
A little fishy, right? But yeah, no, I mean that was, you know. It changes the entire play there, because if you let it go, the Saints might not have been to make that same call that they did. They might have been in a scramble mode, and for better or worse for us, you know, who knows? But no, that was a very egregious mistake by that official.
And look, I've mentioned this a little bit before, and I've talked about this in our group chats and things like that. For me, first and foremost, and when I first saw it, you know, I was kind of like, we shouldn't even have been in that situation. Okay. So I'm not even concerned with those little couple seconds, X, Y, and Z. But to your point, Will, this is the NFL. This is a multi-billion-dollar business. You telling me there wasn't something playing, it just automatically, it just kind of glitched and stopped? No, not at all. I've seen different times where the clock will stop or start or whatever, and they go, okay, go back and do it. And I get it. You can't review it, whatever. But still, it's just kind of like when in the Super Bowl with the Ravens and the 49ers, and then right out of halftime, half the stadium lights went out after the Ravens were blowing them out, and then all of a sudden the 49ers came back. Now, I'm not going to go down that road with conspiracy theories and things of that nature, but you telling me these multi-billion-dollar businesses and all this stuff, and they're having technical difficulties? I got a theory. Where's the
Makes you wonder. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, again, it shouldn't have been in that situation, but if it is in that situation, the teams are depending on the refs and the clock management and all the people that are in these positions, getting paid at these specific positions, to get it right and to address an issue that could potentially change the game. Now, for this one, it didn't really matter for the Saints, but it definitely did for us. Us being 9-5 is a lot better than us being 8-6 when you look at the Rams and Seattle, and you look at some of these other teams and Atlanta who we're about to face. We look at a bunch of teams and them vying for that last playoff spot. So us winning definitely doesn't make it as big as it could have been, but this could have been a major issue, Will.
I see what you did there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. But look, hey, let's go. I think that's a perfect segue, because we are 3 games out, ladies and gentlemen. We have a game with Philly this week. Then we have the Atlanta game that's been flexed to Sunday night. And then we have the Dallas game. 3 games for a shot to have double-digit wins this season. Mm-hmm. Definitely a possibility to get into the playoffs. What is our road to the playoffs, Will?
We control our destiny, Sean. Mm-hmm. How awesome is that? You know, we talked last week. We looked at the playoff scenarios and looked at our schedule and said, what do you think we got? We have 4 games left. I think we predicted at the very least 2-2, but we definitely said, I said 3-1. Last week we got our first one, which is the Saints one. This week against Philly, this is actually, I think we went saying that we were going to get the loss. But then we've got big game, week 17 versus the Falcons. Oh, yeah. That is like the key. That is the key right there. Because if we beat them, they cannot beat us in any type of tiebreaker scenarios, essentially, moving forward. And the Falcons, you know, don't have the easiest. Well, actually, they do have a pretty easy route ahead of them. They got the Giants, us, and then the Panthers. So we have to beat the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. Just got flexed to it. So yeah, the best part there is we hold the key to making the playoffs.
Yes, you hold the key to a December to remember, Will.
That's right. I do have a December to remember. Look at that. Look at that.
Let's go. I love it. Absolutely. Yeah. So, hey, it's right in front of us. And for all intents and purposes, the Atlanta game now, especially that they're having a backup quarterback. We'll see. Who knows how he'll do, but they're playing for their playoff lives as well. And then you have a Dallas game where I really feel like, again, we should be favored. We should be able to get this done. But as we saw in the first game, you don't hold your breath. You know what I mean? We don't know. That Philly game that's coming up this week, I believe, is the X factor. And depending on kind of where we go, I don't know. Does it make a difference if we win all three of these? Does it make a difference in seeding?
Seeding, probably not. I mean, the Packers are 10-4. So, I mean, the Packers would have to lose a few in order for us to jump them. But I think we're pretty much cemented into that seventh, the final wild card spot. So this, beating Philly obviously makes it that much harder or it puts a whole lot more onus on the Falcons that they must win out if they want to get past us. But if you, in all honesty, this is kind of the one game you can probably lose and still be all right.
Yeah, Green Bay's 10-4, and they have remaining Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have Minnesota, New Orleans, and Chicago.
Yeah, so I mean,
2 wins there at least.
Yeah, they've got winnable opportunity there for the Packers. Yeah, so it's that's where I'm kind of like, we're really only going to get the 7th seed, but you look at the Rams and Seahawks, they're pretty much vying for one of those 2 teams is going to win the division, and that's all they're going to get. The Rams have the easier schedule, playing the Jets, the Cardinals, and then they play the Seahawks. So the fact that they still have to play in Week 17 kind of means if they're already 8-6, one of them's going to have a 7th loss by after that one. So they almost are pretty much going to eliminate each other to where the division winner gets it. Where the Seahawks, their road's a little bit harder. They've got the Vikings who are playing tremendous. Bears should be a good win, but then they have to play the Rams, and so that's kind of where we get to control our destiny. You want to play well and beat Philly. Obviously, their division rival. They're the best team or second, tied for best team in the NFC. But you don't have to. If you're going to lose one, this kind of is the game to lose. Unless we beat the Falcons, then the Week 18 game doesn't matter. But we'll get
now. This next question, I know to some Washington fans will be sacrilegious, but what happens if we don't win? Maybe let's say we lose both divisional games, or God forbid, lose all 3. Are we automatically out? I mean, I see we're 2 games up on Atlanta, so obviously they'd get that tiebreaker. But to your point about Seattle only being 1 game back, they have tough games. But I mean, what is there a way? I mean, obviously, if we don't win, it's hard for us to get it. But if we lose, let's say 2 out of 3, is there still a way for us to get in at 10-7?
Potentially, it would kind of depend on who is the one win against. If it's against Atlanta, we would prevent them from going in. But if we don't, it's going to be it would make it whole lot harder. But yeah, I'm sure there are probably ways we can sneak in.
Oh yeah. So that's the road. It's there. It's right in front of us. So I mean, like you said, win 3 games, and we don't have to worry about all the extra stuff. We don't have to worry about what other teams are doing, X, Y, and Z. Everything's in front of us. We're in the driver's seat. Let's get it. Now, with that being said, again, diving into my sacrilegious side, if we miss the playoffs, does that mean that this season is a failure, Will?
Oh, is it a failure? No.
Mm-hmm.
Because it goes back to what were your hopes and expectations at the beginning of the season, and what can you answer at the end of the season? Right now, a couple weeks ago, we had the segment where we said, has Washington found its quarterback? And I think Eric Kelly, he was like, are you kidding me, guys? But the purpose of that was to kind of say, if we walk away from 2024 football season saying we have a franchise quarterback, the season can't be considered a failure.
Absolutely.
Our team, our organization is positioned itself so much better than it's been for, golly, who knows, that we're not having to worry about quarterback. We can build on that moving forward. So it couldn't be considered a failure. would it be a horrible taste to the point of like that same, remember when we played the Giants and went in and we had a clunker and we didn't make the playoffs, and you just went into that offseason with this horrible feeling, and it was hard to kind of get revved up for the offseason, get going. It would be something like that where you'd be crushed.
Yeah. And so see, that's the thing. So, because for me, I look at it and I'm like, all right, we look good. We've looked good all year, and making into the playoffs, yes, that would cement. Oh, look at us. But I've often talked about, even before this year, I don't want 1 year of success and then done. I don't want that RG3 2012 where we have that 1 year, we get to the playoffs, and then after that we're back down in the mud. You know what I mean? I want us to have continued success. So I think for me, if we don't make the playoffs, it's not a failure. It's not. I mean, if we if we get into the playoffs and win or lose, or if we don't make the playoffs, we're going to get around the same draft pick, around that same side. What would constitute a failure for me is if we aren't able during this offseason to re-sign some of these guys like a Bobby Wagner. If we're not able to build on this success, if we just kind of stay the same and just kind of go with this same team into next year, that's a failure to me. Because then you've had 2 full years of seeing the roster and seeing how it is. Now we need to be able to build on it. We making the playoffs would be great, but next year we've seen our strengths, we've seen our weaknesses. Now we need to move on. If we don't do anything else, and we're not looking to improve, that is more of a failure than not making the playoffs. Because when I look at this year and I go back to the 2020 year, and I'm like, well, we made the playoffs then. It didn't look great. I mean, yeah, we had that stretch towards the end and Chase Young, rookie of the year, and yada, yada. But when we went up against a formidable team, against the Bucs, they whooped us. Like they didn't whoop us. It was 31-23. 31-23.
Well,
I know
who got born that day?
I know. Your guy came in there. Heineke? Yeah, get out of here. I think he even got some playing time for the Chargers recently. If Herbert goes down, maybe he'll be in tonight. Who knows?
Hey.
But yeah, no, it's not a failure if we don't make the playoffs. I think to your point about the December to remember, just being in this hunt and being favored. Teams not looking at us like, oh, this is a bye week, or oh, we can get these guys. These are, they're looking at us like, dag, that quarterback's pretty solid. Dag, Bobby Wagner, another 100 tackle season. Dag, now they got Lattimore and he's healthy. Oh my God. You know what I mean? There's things that when people talk about us, there is a little concern, and that's why I feel like it's a success regardless of what happens.
Yep, I'm with you. You would certainly feel a whole lot better, just like we did, like you mentioned, when we lost against the Bucs. Where even if you go into the game, like I sat down on the couch for that playoff game, going, "All right, let's just not get our butts whooped today." Yeah. Like I didn't think we were going to win. And then I got into the game because Heineke played his tail off. But you were so encouraged going into that offseason. You're just like, oh, look at that. We got the playoffs. Year one, Ron Rivera. Who's he going to bring? And then the rest happened.
Looking at that, that's what I don't want. That optimism, going back all the way back to 2012, then going back to 2020, there's optimism. Like, look, we've built, and especially in 2020. And maybe we were caught, we were just blinded, blissfully ignorant on the fact that we really were a crappy team. I mean, we were like 1-8 up in, at the 10.
It was another run. All the times we made the playoffs with Joe Gibbs and Mike Shanahan, it was a 7-game stretch of a run.
Yeah. But I want the consistency. And that's what I like about what we've done this year. We won the games we're supposed to win. Yes, we had that stretch, but we still keep continuing to win. And if we go into the playoffs and we do it, that's great. But I want to see us get stronger. I want to see us get stronger. So look, let's go right into that. Is making the playoffs good for the organization's growth? I'm going to be honest with you. For the overall, I mean, it might be good for, if you bringing guys in and you can say, hey, listen, we made the playoffs last year. We made the playoffs with, a roster that is not exactly where we want it to be. So look what you can add to the table. But where we are right now, I don't think us missing the playoffs, unless we totally lose the next 3 games, I don't think us missing the playoffs, if we miss it by a game or so, is going to be able to kind of change that narrative. People are still going to have that same thought, like this is an up-and-coming team. They have their quarterback. They're building around him with certain pieces. People want to come here. So I think we'll be good. Is it good for the organization? I think it could be good for us. I mean, we from what we've had over the last couple of years, absolutely. I don't think it's going to make or break us. I think it'll definitely be beneficial. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, especially if you think about if you miss the playoffs, you're picking around, you're in the teens, 15, something like that. You make the playoffs, you're not starting until maybe 22nd, something like that. Yeah. Nope, 14, 32 minus 14, so 18.
18. Okay.
So you're talking about a couple spots here, but that can make a big difference in who's available and who's not, or when somebody starts to slide and you're able to jump up and get him. So. Yes, what happened a year or two ago when Dallas Turner slid in the draft, and so the Vikings traded back up to get him. They're like, "Holy smokes, this guy isn't getting drafted. We're going to get him." So it does matter when it comes to that. I mean, any little spot can be the difference maker in terms of getting yourself a chance to get a player for next year. I will say this: I'm gonna be the big time optimist. I'm a glass half full guy. That I have faith in our organization, our general manager, our assistant general manager, our scouts to say whether we're picking 20th or 16th, they're going to get the guy that's going to help us.
Yep.
We're not going to draft Jamin Davis type players anymore. And that I think the momentum that would come from us making the playoffs and a player sitting there going like a Bobby Wagner, does he want to come back again next year? Yeah, man, we made the playoffs. I want to be a part of this. We're growing. Jeremy Chin, who has to decide, can he get a multi-year deal elsewhere, or does he want to come back to the defense that he's played pretty good on? Mm-hmm. I think that could matter. When we get a couple free agents, do we go after a wide receiver? Let's just play that game. Is the T. Higgins out there going to say, well, yeah, they got Terry. Look what his numbers were. Mm-hmm. I could help that. I want to make the playoffs. When was the last time the Bengals made the playoffs here in the last couple of years? What direction are the Bengals trending in versus what direction are we trending in for a player? So I think it would it be good for the organization? I'm going to say yes, because it's also going to show how well these coaches flip things around in 1 year.
Yes. Yep. No, absolutely. I think that's the huge point. And then as soon as you said it, I was like, you know what? That's exactly right. It's the fact that, yes, Peter, some of them might have been here last year, but Dan Quinn, this is his first year. Him getting these guys, totally revamping the roster, having some of the injuries that we've had and still having success down the stretch, and then getting to the playoffs. I mean, you want to talk about a great selling pitch. You know what I mean? Look what we did with what we had. We used half of the roster we brought in, half the roster from the past. We've started to make certain moves to get people out, and everything has been the building blocks towards the future. So yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It's good for the growth. Of
2 points that support that.
Yeah.
So we talked about this earlier this week. Wonderful that Jonathan Allen he's practicing. Yeah. He's working his way out. And so great that they found that the tear was not as much. No chance if they weren't in the playoff hunt would he be coming back. Absolutely. He'd be saying, "See y'all next year."
Right.
It shows that players want to play for this team. Okay. Yes. The other part, this is what matters as well, because our owners are going to have to be spending some money here, not only on players, but on trying to build a stadium. Right now, I'm very distracted because I'm on eBay looking up Redskin hats right now. You make the playoffs and I open up my wallet. You don't make the playoffs, I don't buy stuff in the offseason.
Oh, yeah.
I buy in. Fans buy in and they get excited when you make the playoffs. So, yeah, it would be good for the organization in other manners.
And to that point, that's exactly right. Because, I mean, what did we just hear? I told you guys about last week. My buddy that lives in New Orleans called me and said, "Hey, are you coming to the game?" And I was like, no, I'm not. And he drives a pedicab. And he said he was just getting flooded with Washington people, Washington guys coming in that just came for the game. What we've noticed this year is we are deep. We have traveled to certain places and we're starting to show up in full force at home. So where it's not an opposing stadium, it's not, I mean, you're going to get the Steelers and the Eagles, you're going to get some of those teams, but for the most part, we are showing up and we have something to be excited about. That's what we got to build on. And a playoff game. And if we can, keep it close or even potentially win that thing, I mean, you want to talk about just the excitement going into the next year. We know the people that we've talked to that are very Super Bowl oriented and everything like that. So this is all in the right direction. So I'm excited for it. I mean, we'll see if they can get there. But yeah, the moves that we're making and potentially having, we made our playoffs in a year that was to many was a rebuild, and they just said it was a recalibration.
Right.
That's huge, and that's something that would bode well for the Adam Peters, for the Dan Quinns, and all that stuff. So
get those year one Ron Rivera vibes going.
Oh yeah. And then you think about year 2, 3, and 4.
All
right, look, ladies and gentlemen, we got to take a quick breather. Then we're gonna come back with some keys to victory and score predictions for this Eagles game. But we got to shout out my guy, Mr. Anton Benton. We mentioned him earlier that he travels, he does his work. We're gonna update this commercial a little bit later, but for now, just stay tuned to Anton Benton and my guy Will Kramer on the saxophone. Buddy, that's my guy, Mr. Anton Benton.
So it's so funny you mentioned you saved me on the saxophone, because over Black Friday I went on a Facebook Marketplace and I was like, I'm gonna get myself a trumpet. I'm gonna learn how to play "Hail to the Redskins" on the trumpet, with the idea that if we win the Super Bowl, I'm coming up and I'm just gonna be sitting in the crowd going bam, 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 bam.
Oh man, I'm here for it. You
right?
get that, I'll get the sax and we'll work it out.
And how about this, Sean? 25 years later, I was in the stands playing the saxophone. You wouldn't look at me at all in the stands when you were playing, but now you're like, hey, I'll stand right next to you while you toot the horns, Will.
Right? Wait a minute. Tell the story correctly. You know, I was on the sidelines cheering and trying to get the fans involved. I would always look at the crowd. Get up.
Yeah, but never to the left side where the band was.
Y'all looked alike. I couldn't put you all that. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost through, but we do have a game this week, the first of 3 to end the season and potentially get us to the playoffs. And it's a division matchup against division-leading Philadelphia Eagles. So we are going to
keys to victory. This is why you want to follow us on Wash FB Weekly. This is why you want to like and subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify, because keys to victory and score predictions, this is our favorite part every single week.
Absolutely. Especially when my guy has some new keys to victory. I love that. The new with the third row of seating. That's what I'm talking about.
It got used last week.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Come on now. Are we all going on a road trip? Let's go.
Right?
So let's get into it. We're playing the Philadelphia Eagles. They only have 2 losses. I think they're 12-2. Currently the number 2 seed in the playoffs in the NFC. We lost to them the first time, but for the most part, first half, it was a lot closer. And then Saquon and Jalen Hurts and all those guys got going. What's your first key to victory in this game against Philly?
Yeah, test the corners. In the first game, did Terry have a catch, or did he have one catch?
I think he had one catch.
Yeah, he was non-factor in the game. We didn't go after rookie cornerback Quinyon Mitchell. We didn't really go after Cooper DeJean. We got to go after him this time. Terry has to be part of the game. We're going to need Oz. We're going to need Crowder. We're going to need Diami to step up as a second option. But we need to go out. We need to test these guys. We can't just sit here and say, hey, Vic Fangio, you're a great corner. We're not even going to bother with you. Let's make them prove it. Let's make them earn it. And with that, Cliff's going to have to develop a quick game with some of this stuff because he's going to have to stop the pass rush.
Yes.
Because part of the reason we couldn't get the ball to Terry was because their pass rush was coming, especially in that second half. It was a different guy every single time. It was Jalen Carter up the middle. It was Josh Sweat coming off the edge. It was Brandon Graham. And so we need to have a quick game to slow that pass rush down. Let them know, yeah, you can run out there all you want, but we're going to throw right where you ran from.
Exactly. And for me, I'm going to go right along those lines. You talked about it. The last game we played, Terry didn't get his first, I think, completion to like third quarter. Like he only had the one catch, and I don't think he had that many targets. They really focused on shutting him down and making the rest of the team beat us. Terry has to beat Terry against Philly, regardless of the last couple of years when we've had whatever quarterback, pick one. Terry has always seemed to have a big game in those type of games. We need him to lead by example, which means, to your point, the quick passes, screens. Give him the opportunity to get involved in the game, because when he gets involved, he starts to get pumped and amped and jacked up, and that does something to the team because he is such a calm, conservative, kind of relaxed, chill guy, that when he starts getting upset and mad and pumping his chest and doing all that, then the team follows suit. So got to get Terry involved early and often and force feed him, if you will, like that. What is your second key to victory, Will?
I'm going to steal yours. I'm going special teams.
Yeah.
Take the points every time.
That's fine. Yeah.
I figured it might be. I almost should have sent that to you, but yeah, this will be the lesson learned against the Saints game. If you get into field goal range, your next play, you said great. Don't run on second down. Don't do a handoff if they're run blitzing over and over again. You got to get creative, be quick with getting the ball out so we're not going backwards. Once we get a chance to get points, we can't go backwards.
Yep, totally. And since you went there, I'm going to use mine with something that I've seen in a lot on college football, and I saw in a lot of times that we've played, and I talked about it last year. We need to utilize the motion on offense. We need to utilize the motion. A lot of times you'll see the running back or wide receiver, somebody go in motion to kind of see, is that defense playing zone? Are they playing man-to-man? We need to have that motion and start doing some misdirection. Start running a guy one way, hitting him, gassing him back the other way. Kind of keep that defense on their heels so that they're not having, like you talked about in the first key to victory, just that free rush. Let's keep them guessing. Are we running a sweep to the left? Are they running a reverse? Are they, quick screen? What are they doing in order that's kind of keeping us hesitant? You know what I mean? So that's something I honestly think we've got to, if we can utilize motion and kind of get those linebackers and those D lines thinking instead of reacting, I think that will definitely bode well for us.
Love that. Yeah.
So here it is, man. We were honest last time. We both said that we thought they were going to get the W, and the Eagles definitely did. What is your score predictions for this game, Will?
Washington 23, Philadelphia 27.
No. You know what? I have been pessimistic all year. I have sat here and I've questioned our great quarterback. I've questioned certain things with the team, but I will not question this week, Will.
Ooh.
There will be a team that has 23, and it will be Philly. And there will be a team that beats them, Washington, 25-23, late game field goal, and we're just going crazy off the field like we won the Super Bowl. Let's go.
Oh, man, that would be so good. That would be so good.
I need it. Yo, so that is our score predictions for this game. Let us know what your thoughts are, who you think is going to get the W. Philly, Washington, huge implications. If we win this is just going to play devil's advocate. If we win this and we win the rest of our games and Philly loses the rest of their games, is there any shot at us winning the division? No,
they're 12-2. The most we would get is 11 wins, right? No, that'd be 12. I can't do math.
Yeah, we both have 5 losses. If we don't lose the game again, we'd have 5 and we'd be 12-5. If they lose the rest of their 3 remaining games, well, obviously they played the Giants and the Cowboys, so I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
But then they'd be 12-5. Now we both have a win. So then it would probably go to
some type of tiebreaker.
So
I don't know how the NFL does their tiebreaker, whether they go into strength of schedule, because after you go head to head, I don't know if they go next comparable team in the schedule. I'm not sure how they do that one.
So that's where I'm optimistic. So
Point
much
differential,
yeah, that's where I'm optimistic. I'm going to say it here, and I'm going to say it right now. Washington will win the division at 12-5, and the Eagles.
If they go point differential as the tiebreak, they go ahead. One loss head to head point differential. I bet you we'd have it on them because we have those blowout wins.
Exactly. We didn't have trouble with the Panthers.
Yep. See.
Just saying. I'm just saying. Hey, listen. Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
That make me crazy.
I mean, the likelihood of them losing to the Giants at this point.
But we've seen crazier things. We've seen crazier things happen. So if it happens, that would be great. Most likely will not, and we'll be in the situation. Who cares? Like right now, December and January to potentially remember, and I'm here for it. I am here for it. Let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have got to let you go. Definitely tune into us on Twitter, like Will's name says, at Wash FB Weekly. And definitely we're lined with the Fans First Sports Network. Definitely tune into them. They've got a lot of great content from all teams around the NFL. We also will be sharing a number of things on our Spotify and on, we're on Blue Sky, we're on Twitter, we're on everything. So we'll be sharing things as well. So tune into what we have here. This will be up on YouTube at 22 Sean Spencer, and tune into all the other different places where we're sharing stuff, because listen, we love talking about it. And I don't know if you know, we don't just talk about it one day a week. This is a full-time 24/7 where we're talking about it every day in group chats, sharing Twitter feeds, and doing all this and that. So much so that I know in my household at one particular point in the past, I was told, you put a little bit more time into this than you do into me. And
oops.
Yeah, maybe I do. I am not perfect. I'm not perfect. All right, but I love my team. Here we go. Look, we're heading out of here, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, we end the show the way we know how. Left hand up, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good evening. We'll see y'all next time.
Gibbs, you got a good chance. Let me tell you something about some good fans. Back in the day, RFK was our palace. If you don't know, you need to ask